Hello everyone and welcome back. Alright, this ended up being a pretty interesting battle too. It was against a very balanced army and a guy who knew what he was doing. So this will be pretty interesting to see. Alright, now on this map this is Forest Gully. There are 3 capturable buildings. The workshop, the weaponsmith I think it's called, sword dojo, and the shrine. 2 of the best capturable buildings in the game, the workshop and the shrine, are here. The sword dojo is pretty good, but it's secondary to the others I think. Now, sadly, I was not able to capture the workshop. That made me really sad. It's my favorite capturable. But I did get the sword dojo, and I kept him from getting the workshop, so it ended up being pretty even. He did get the shrine, though. It's too bad, but it didn't end up mattering. Alright, let's look at the armies before we get too far. I got my standard setup. 6 katanas, 2 Yari samurai, 2 bow ashigaru, a matchlock ashigaru, and 2 Yari cavalry. Standard setup. Let's look at this guy. His is pretty similar to mine. 2 Yari cavalry, 3 bow samurai, 1 lone sword ashigaru, and then a bunch of spears. 5 Yari samurai. Nope. 3 Yari samurai and 2 naginatas. And then of course his general. One criticism of his army real quick. No swords. I mean, naginatas are good, but you really should have a sword base. Actually, there is 1 sword, but just 1 sword is not enough for a core of your infantry, in my opinion. Especially just a lone sword. Also going to criticize the use of bow samurai. Bow samurai are good, don't get me wrong, but they're not worth the money to mass. Having 1 is definitely good. They can guard your archers, keep them out of danger of melee, you know, handle minor melee threats, and put some fire arrows on the enemy. They're a good unit, but I wouldn't mass them. You want to mass the bow ashigaru, especially when they're upgraded. They're just as good, and you have more men and they're cheaper. So 1 or 2 bow samurai is good. I wouldn't use more than 2. Alright, so let's look at what's going on. I'm just capturing the sword dojo. He's capturing the shrine. No one's going for the workshop yet. I'll speed it up since there's just maneuvering here. He starts going for the workshop, and I really don't want him to get it. So I start moving. I leave 1 Yari samurai back to get the sword dojo. But I start moving up to threaten his guys. I move my bows up to skirmish. I was pretty disorganized about it. I should have been more careful. But it ended up not being a problem with my bows. See, I had to kind of reorganize them there. So the bow starts skirmishing. Pretty even position. See, I mean, look at this. He's not going to do a ton of damage to my bows with his bow samurai. Bow samurai aren't so good that I would use them totally in place of bow ashigaru. See, I'm doing damage to him too. You'll see him start losing a lot of bow samurai. I ended up losing about 1/3 of his missile units in this initial action. And I lost about the same. So, I mean, not a big deal. Bow ashigaru are generally better, in my opinion. So we'll just speed it up because they're just shooting back and forth. We'll take a quick look at the casualties here in a minute once people start moving. Alright, see, this one's down to 75. This one's down to 55. That one's basically untouched. My bows, that one's down to about half, but this one's basically untouched. I ended up inspiring this bow ashigaru unit, so he did a good amount of damage with that. Chased him off with my cavalry because they were just about to capture this. So I chased him off to get him out of the zone of control, just to keep him from capturing it. So that's when I decided I need to attack or he's going to capture that building. And I don't want him to get it because I have the sword dojo. So that'll nullify my melee bonus if he captures this building. So I move up quickly to try and get him before he can capture it. So here comes the infantry. Cavalry's going to be waiting here around the flanks. Missile units are still kind of skirmishing. Holding each other down. They're attracting fire. I decided to save my matchlock unit. They were I was keeping them on reserve, and it ended up being a good thing. I was able to get him around the flank and shoot at the enemy's sides. So he's moving his cavalry around too. So I decided to respond kind of with my spears. Maybe not quite yet, but here I go. A little bit of a disorganized attack, but I needed to get there before he captured the building. So the building is safely out of his control. Here comes the attack. His archer's still moving, not shooting. I'm moving up too. Spears are going around to deal with the cavalry. I wasn't keeping track of his cavalry, so I moved both the spears over. I should have kept one on the side. It ended up being kind of a mistake. And this flank got hit pretty hard with this cavalry. So here's when I noticed it. And this katana is going to get ripped apart. So this flank ended up being a lot weaker than it should have been because of the lack of Yaris. So I started moving over. They got stuck a little bit, lost some time. Bad move on my part, but didn't end up affecting the end of the battle. So these Yaris can come up and actually attack the cavalry. A little role reversal there. Missile units are shooting into the general's bodyguard just to get him to fear for his general. And at this point, the armies just kind of start slugging it out. Not a whole lot of tactical developments. Muskets moving up. I'm going to try and get them on the side, try and shoot into their sides and back. I decided to take these Katana Samurai and just hit them into this unit and hope for the best, because the Yari Samurai is about to get there. They're going to hit. They're going to be supported by the Yari Samurai. Now my matchlock unit got hit by this cavalry, but not too bad. Only a few of them got by the Yari Samurai. So this Yari cavalry unit got decimated. They're pretty much gone. In come the lone swords, which he should have had up farther. Let's take a look at this battle. We're clearly winning here. We're crushing his naginatas and spears. I mean, naginatas are good. I made a video about building the army. I talked about how they can be good. I wouldn't make a core of my army out of naginatas unless you have a lot of support for him, and his support was not good for them. So they just got cut up by my katanas. You can't just have them sit there and get cut up like that. You gotta have support for him. So he didn't use his naginatas very well. Nothing against naginatas, I know a lot of people like them. They're fine units. But you gotta support them better than katanas, because katanas need the least amount of support because they can just grind through the infantry, no problem. So there goes his cavalry. Mine got pretty hurt too. I managed to save them, but I decided to just run them into the missile units, get them to rout. You know, they are bow samurai, they won't rout as easy. I forgot about this Yari samurai unit. Hit my Yari cavalry a little bit. Ended up not being a big deal. His infantry is gone. It's just going to come down to his bow units. There goes his general. I don't even know where he was. I think he charged my infantry here. So he just got cut down. And there's the end of the battle. So, centered my strategy around making sure he doesn't get this protection building. I got the sword dojo. Because he didn't have a whole lot of swords, I was able to just walk in and cut down his swords and keep his support units from helping his naginatas. That's what ended up winning the battle. So, there you go. Hope you learned something from this video, and I'll see you on the battlefield.